Welcome to the Classic and Current Gaming Podcast, a weekly podcast where we look at the history and development of video games. I'm your host, ArksDude22, and we have arrived at the finale of Season 4, where we've been looking at games that I personally enjoy that may fall under the radar for most people. This week, we're ending the season with a PC game that did get ported to Xbox later on in its lifetime, and is still a very strong and popular PC game today. This week, we look at the simulation game Rollercoaster Tycoon. Rollercoaster Tycoon is a 1999 construction and management simulation video game developed by Chris Sawyer and published by Hasbro Interactive. It was released for Windows and was later ported to the Xbox by Frontier Developments in 2003. It is the first game in the Rollercoaster Tycoon series. Rollercoaster Tycoon received 2 expansion packs: Corkscrew Follies in 1999 and Loopy Landscapes in 2000. 2 special editions were released: Rollercoaster Tycoon Gold, Totally Roller Coaster in 2002, which contained the original game, added Corkscrew Follies and Loopy Landscapes, and Rollercoaster Tycoon Deluxe in 2003, which contained the content in gold, plus more designs for the different customizable rides. Gameplay. The premise of the game is to complete a series of preset scenarios by successfully building and maintaining amusement parks through business ownership as a theme park entrepreneur. Players can choose from dozens of roller coaster types and can also build log flumes, carousels, bumper cars, haunted houses, go-karts, Ferris wheels, and swinging ships, among other rides. The player may hire handyman to sweep paths, empty garbage cans, water flowers, and mow lawns, mechanics to inspect and fix rides, security guards to prevent vandalism within the park, and entertainers to entertain the guests. The geography and landscaping of the park can be modified, allowing the player to lower, raise terrain, and add water to improve the park's attractiveness, as well as to allow rides to fit into their surroundings more easily. Players must also balance the needs of the visitors by strategically placing food stalls, concession stands, bathrooms, and information kiosks. The player also has the option of building their own roller coaster designs as well as other rides by laying out individual track pieces, choosing the direction, height, and steepness, and adding such elements as zero-G rolls, corkscrews, vertical loops, and even on-ride photos, using tile-based construction systems. Scenarios. There are 21 scenarios included with Rollercoaster Tycoon, as well as 30 more in the Corkscrew Follies expansion pack, and another 30 in the Loopy Landscapes expansion pack, totaling 81 scenarios if the whole set is installed. Successfully completing a scenario will unlock the next one. Additionally, Mega Park is unlocked when all 21 scenarios are completed. The scenario has no objective except have fun, but allows the player to build one on top of a nearly entire map, and eventually has all attractions available to build. This is the closest to a sandbox park, except the player does not have an unlimited amount of money to work with, only a $50,000 loan. Some scenarios are based on real parks. For example, Katie's Dreamland, Katie's World in the US version, is based on Lightwater Valley, complete with that park's signature, the ultimate roller coaster, the Storm. There were 2 official scenarios that were available for download on Hasbro's website: Fort Anarchism and Alton Towers. Alton Towers was included with the Loopy Landscape expansion with Hyde Park and Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and was updated to take advantage of the new game components. Both scenarios are also included as part of Rollercoaster Tycoon Deluxe. The UK edition of Rollercoaster Tycoon Deluxe contained Blackpool Pleasure Beach in place of Fort Anarchism. Development. Scottish game designer Chris Sawyer released Transport Tycoon in 1994 and spent time to consider what to do for a sequel. Some of the revenue he earned from Transport Tycoon he used towards traveling in Europe and the United States, which included visits to theme parks with roller coasters. Though Sawyer said he had hated roller coasters before, he became fond of them through these trips and since has become a roller coaster enthusiast and had ridden on at least 700 different roller coasters. From these trips, Sawyer decided to follow Transport Tycoon with a roller coaster based simulation, giving him a partial excuse to continue visiting theme parks to, quote, research roller coaster rides. Doesn't sound like a bad gig to me. The game was to be called White Knuckle for the majority of the game's development. However, to follow the tradition of the Tycoon titles, the game was renamed accordingly. The game was developed in a small village near Dunblane over the course of 2 years. Sawyer wrote 99% of the code for Rollercoaster Tycoon in x86 assembly language for the Microsoft Macro Assembler, with the remaining 1% written in C. The graphics were designed by artist Simon Foster using several 3D modeling, rendering, and paint programs. Initially, Sawyer used family and friends to help playtest the game, and then turned to Hasbro, the publisher, to help complete more extensive bug testing and feedback. For his efforts, Sawyer made around $30 million in royalties. The Xbox port was handled by Frontier Developments, who would later go on to develop Rollercoaster Tycoon 3. The game was first released in North America on March 22nd of 1999. Expansion packs. 2 expansion packs were released for Rollercoaster Tycoon that each include new rides, facilities, and scenarios. The first pack, Corkscrew Follies, was released in November 1999. The second pack, Loopy Landscapes, was released in September of 2000. The pack does not require added attractions to be played, as the disc already includes all the content from the expansion. Reissues and re-releases. In September 2001, Infogames Europe released a compilation called Totally Roller Coaster, which included the base game and the Loopy Landscapes pack on separate discs. In 2002, a compilation of the base game with both expansion packs in a single box, Rollercoaster Tycoon Gold, was released by Infogames in North America. It was re-released in 2003 as Rollercoaster Tycoon Deluxe, which included all the contents of Gold on a single disc. Deluxe was later released on digital distribution platforms such as GOG.com and Steam, and in July 2014 these versions were updated to include European language localizations, which were previously available as separate retail versions. Xbox port. A version for the Xbox was also released in 2003, which was handled by Frontier Developments and was published by Infogames Interactive. The port was mainly the same as the original PC version and included both expansion packs, with controls adapted for a controller. Reception. GameSpot's Alan Duncan called it, quote, another fun management simulation from the mind of Chris Sawyer. His praises include the custom naming of everything in the park and position-accurate, real-life sound effects. However, he disliked the limited speed of the game, reasoning that when you're trying to manage your newest amusement park, time is ticking by, perhaps faster than you'd like. He also criticized the limited amount of scenarios and the player not being able to make their own. IGN's Jason Bates also called it a fun game. He wrote that making custom rides could take a very long time and be very frustrating at first, and players would have to pay too much cash to tasks such as changing land levels, repositioning trees, and build walkways, while they're designing their roller coaster. However, once players master doing so, you'll get a lot of pride out of designing some crazy twisting corkscrew that winds in and out of lakes and hot dog stands, paint it bright neon pink and orange, and give it a name like the Vominator. And then when the kids start lining up for those $5 tickets, you'll be ready to start saving up for your next ridiculous extravaganza. Game Revolution's Ben Silverman highlighted the game's graphical style. The nature of the game just doesn't call for fancy graphics, and thankfully things run smoothly. The detail level is very cool, from the green-faced nauseous guest to the marquee scrolling the name of the ride at the entrance. He also praised the endless amount of possibilities in designing the roller coaster rides, as well as a huge amount of specific detail, such as the location of a food stall. The players should and can focus on of their park, with the only slight criticisms being the sloppy interface. Gary Ng Walk of Entertainment Weekly, who graded the game an A, called it quite literally the thrill ride of the summer, and in 2003 the magazine ranked Rollercoaster Tycoon number 68 on their list of the 100 greatest video games. Aaron Curtis of Los Angeles Times praised the game, saying that it is simple enough to enjoy right out of the box, but sophisticated enough to keep even the most obsessive park planner happy for weeks. The Xbox port received mixed ratings due to very little improvement. The only exclusive features are no menu buttons. They were accessed by holding the X and B buttons, and a magnifying glass cursor that can be toggled by clicking the left thumbstick. Rollercoaster Tycoon won Computer Games Strategy Plus's 1999 Strategy Game of the Year award, and the editors hailed it as a superb game that's virtually guaranteed to put a smile on the face of even the most jaded gamer. PC Gamer US and CNET Game Center nominated the game for their Best Real-Time Strategy Game awards, but this went to Age of Empires 2, The Age of Kings, and Homeworld, respectively. The former publication's editors wrote that Rollercoaster Tycoon revived the theme park subgenre with its rock-solid design and addicting play. Rollercoaster Tycoon was also nominated for Computer Game of the Year and Computer Strategy Game of the Year during the AIAS 3rd Annual Interactive Achievement Awards. Both awards ultimately went to Age of Empires 2, The Age of Kings. During the 4th Annual Interactive Achievement Awards, the expansion Loopy Landscapes was nominated for the PC Simulation, PC Game of the Year, and Game of the Year awards. The first award went to MechWarrior 4 Vengeance, while the latter two went to Diablo 2. Sales. According to PC Data, it was the third best-selling PC game on the week of July 25, 1999, and rose to number 2 the next week. It was the second best-selling PC title that same month, and was the third best-selling of August of that year. It returned to number 2 on the week of August 29th through September 4th, as well as taking the number 2 spot again for the month of September. On January 18th, 2000, Rollercoaster Tycoon was announced the best-selling PC game of 1999. Its sales in the United States totaled 719,535 units that year, for revenues of $19.6 million, the third highest grossing game for 1999. Chris Sawyer said in response to the commercial success of the game, "I think everyone is a bit stunned by the sales success of Rollercoaster Tycoon, myself included. I always believed in the game concept myself, but I hadn't expected to have so much widespread appeal among game players of all types." Rollercoaster Tycoon also received a gold award from the Verband der Unterhaltungssoftware Deutschland by the end of August 1999 for the sales of at least 100,000 units across Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Rollercoaster Tycoon proceeded to become a long-term success in the United States. GameSpot's Trey Walker noted in late 2001 that it had appeared in the top 10 weekly sales list almost continuously during its first 2 years of release. Domestically, it sold another 749,749 units and earned $20.32 million from January through October 2000, according to PC Data. These numbers rose to 1.25 million units, 32.99 million by the end of the year, which made it the second biggest computer game seller of 2000, behind The Sims. Rollercoaster Tycoon's success continued in 2001. It placed again at number 2 for the year, behind The Sims, and earned $21.9 million with 953,953 sales. But July of 2002, Rollercoaster Tycoon had sold over 4 million copies. Legacy. Several sequels would follow Rollercoaster Tycoon in its expansion packs: Rollercoaster Tycoon 2, Rollercoaster Tycoon 3, Rollercoaster Tycoon 3D, Rollercoaster Tycoon 4 Mobile, and Rollercoaster Tycoon World. Features found in this game, along with Rollercoaster Tycoon 2, were included in Rollercoaster Tycoon Classic in 2017. Several user-created roller coasters received media attention after footage of them were posted on various image boards and social media. All information in the podcast today was provided by Wikipedia. And that'll wrap up episode 72 of the Classic and Current Gaming Podcast and put a close on Season 4. The podcast can be checked out in several different ways. If you like the video presentation, you want to see gameplay while you hear the podcast, check out the YouTube channel and you can see the video there. Or if you're on the go and you just want to listen, check out the Spotify or your other favorite listening platform and you can catch the podcast there. Don't have a theme yet for Season 5. Open to suggestions. If you want to hit us up with a suggestion, we'll look at it and maybe even consider it, because Not sure what we're going to do yet, but we'll come up with something for you for season 5. We will have a little bit of a break now, so if you want to binge the first 4 seasons of the podcast, now's the time to do so before we get started with season 5, probably in the next month or 2. Thank you all for listening or watching. It's been ArxDude22 from Classic and Current Gaming Podcast signing out. Keep on gaming. See you on the next stream. Be good to each other. And you'll hear and see me on the next podcast in the future, which will be later this year when we start season 5. Everybody have a great break, and we'll see you real soon. Take care, everybody.